How you doing? This is Dennis Lawrence with This Old Shack, and today I'm going to teach you how to build a Carpenter Bee Trap. It's not very complicated. This is the one that we build and distribute. I've made over 10,000 of these. We sell them in some retail locations, but we also donate tons of them to nonprofits and charities. I've shipped these things to 14 different states, and they work really well. And I want to teach you how to build them. A lot of people say, well, I can go build my own, and if you can, that's great. I want to talk to you today about lumber types. Now, when I build my Carpenter Bee Trap, I choose Western red cedar. Now, if you're going to build one bee trap, whether it's just a single, and you don't care how long it lasts, you just want to throw something up there to catch bees, you can pretty much use any kind of lumber you want. Some people build them out of just plain old white pine. Some will build it out of treated yellow pine, and then some will use just plain old yellow pine. Some people use plywood, and I'll tell you something about plywood. While it's perfectly straight and will do good, none of these do good outside except for the treated yellow pine. The problem with treated yellow pine is it gets wet and dries, it's going to shrink and expand, shrink and expand. If you have a deck or a treated fence, you know what I'm talking about. Your deck, the boards move and twist, so I don't even recommend using treated yellow pine. I also won't use treated yellow pine on like any of the bird habitats I build because I don't want the babies to chip away at it because of the chemicals. I choose Western red cedar. Now I buy all my boards from a place here in Columbus, and I get them in 12-foot lengths, and this is just one of the 1x6s, but I normally get them in 1x8s. But you can get this Western red cedar over at Valley Fir up in Midland, and that's where I get mine. I don't buy it at Home Depot or Lowe's because the little bit of cedar they have is usually old, split, warped, and different things. As you can see, I have a 12-foot 1x8, and this is what I choose to make my particular bee traps out of. And I'll just simply take the board, I'm going to measure it in, just cut it in half. If you check your lumber, you'll find that they're a little bit longer than 6 foot, so I'll make a mark at 6 foot and 1/4 inch. That way I'll know where the center of the board is, and I'll cut it appropriately. Turn on my exhaust fan, which sucks the dust out of here. Just that simple. As part of the process, I want to make the birdhouse boxes perfectly square, and to do this, I need the board to be perfectly square. So whenever you're making your bee traps and birdhousing things, you want to use the same board because cedar will vary in thickness. Some boards are a little thicker, and if you use two different boards, what happens is your boxes are not square. So first thing I do is I just put the cedar board into my rip guide, lift it up, tap it over just a little bit. And what I want to do is get a good straight edge. I'm going to look down the board to see if I got an arch, and looks like I have a little bit of them that way, so I'm going to run the board through this way. Now that I got a nice good straight edge, I'm going to set my rip fence to 3.5 inches. And I use my rip guide, and maybe I use this because I spend a lot of time setting this table saw up so it would be exactly right on the money. This saw is one of the best saws I ever bought. It's made by Rigid. They're kind of pricey, but I've had this saw now 15 years almost, and it really has done the trick. And like I said, it's a great saw. So now I'm going to just turn the board around so I got the smooth edge and running against rip fence, and go ahead and cut it. So now I have two 3.5 inch wide, they're 6 foot long, and this is what I'll make my boxes out of, and we'll go with it. Now, these are the two boards that I just ripped. I put the smooth edge over here, and what I need is I need 4 pieces to make a box, and they need to be identical. So what I'll do is I'll actually cut them a little bit long, and by doing that I can stack all 4 pieces up and give myself an exact cut. So turn my fan on, get my blade set up. pieces that are a little bit longer than I need. They're 11 inches. So I'm going to simply mark these at 5 1/4. And what I'm going to do is mark both sides so that I can cut 2 stacks. And by doing this, I'm guaranteed that all 4 boards are going to match up and be exactly the same length. So I take the boards like this, stack them up, make sure the ends match up, bring my saw blade down, and cut them. That's one. Like I said, I cut enough to make 2. So what we have here is 2 stacks of boards. After you get your box built, the next step is simple. What we got to do is we got to drill the holes. Now I have one here that's already got the holes drilled in it, but I'm going to show you how to drill the holes. I basically measured down 1.5 inches, and then I just centered it in the box. If your box is big or smaller, it doesn't matter. But I've learned about 1.5 inches. That way the inside hole doesn't come out too close to the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill 1.5 inch hole at that point. Let's talk about the holes. Now you're going to just take your box, measure down, 1.5 inches and over center your box. I found you need to be 1.5 inches down to get the right angle. We want a 22.5 degree angle going into the box, okay? That's important. And I'll explain why, but let's talk about drill bits. Now you could use a regular drill bit like this, but what's going to happen when you drill it with this, especially the angle, what's going to happen is it's going to chip the edge of the hole. And you could use what they call a crown point drill bit. These are very sharp. If you're not careful, they'll cut you. But same thing, this will chip the edge of the hole. This is what I recommend you use. This is a Forstner bit. This type of bit has a small point, but it's got a razor edge around. So when you start drilling down, it doesn't chip the wood up. It cuts it and slices it. So this is what I recommend you use. So I'll basically just take the drill bit itself, put it in. Now, when you're drilling this, what you need to do is get the point right on the hole. Right on your hole. As soon as it goes in at about 1/16 of an inch, start tilting the drill down to 22.5 degrees to drill at an angle. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Go in just a little bit and start tilting down and drill all the way through. Be careful when you go out the backside that you don't chip it out. Take your time and go slow. Okay? And the reason I tell you that is this is what you want. You see that hole? We've got to have a nice smooth hole. The most important thing you can do with these Carpenter Bee traps is your hole. So basically just repeat the same steps on all 4 sides. As you can see, I've already done this. And if you notice, they're at an angle. Okay? That's important to understand. The hole is the attractant. This is the bait that makes the carpenter. The importance of the holes is real simple. As you can see, these 2 boards, I don't know if you can see this real good on the video, but you got a 2-story, 3-story nest where she drilled a hole in, or male drilled a hole in, and she kept expanding it. When I cut these nests open, every one of these little cells, I don't know if you can see the little partitions, there was a baby bee in there. So these things don't just drill one little 2 or 3 inch hole. One of the boards I cut open one time had a 3-foot nest going both directions, and it was 2 stacks high. A lot of people believe you can just plug the hole up and that'll kill the bee, which is not true, because a female can drill directly out the side, but she spends all of her time. The 2 things she does is goes in here, has little baby bees, she'll regurgitate her food and sawdust and build little petitions as she lays these babies. But you got to make her think that this is a potential nest site. What she'll do is she'll fill this up with babies, and when she comes back from feeding, she's going to start looking for a new nest site. And the males, you know how they are, they just want to find a female to have a date, and that's why they're out there fighting. If you see 2 males fighting around your porch, guess what? One of them's winning the other one's hole by accident. He thought it may have been abandoned, he want to expand it. But the important part of this trap is the holes. Set this aside, and let's nail it together. Now, the bottom is nothing but just a little square piece of cedar I cut. It's 2 3/4 inch square. It happened to fit the hole, so whatever size box you build, just measure the hole, and you just put this in the bottom, and then you take a nail gun, which I do, and I nail it with the nail gun to hold that in place. Now, My bee traps have 28 nails in them. If you notice, I put 3 nails here, 3 nails here, 3 nails here, 3 nails here, okay? And that holds the sides together, but by shooting the nails at those angles, this can't pull out, otherwise it can't fall out over time. Then I take the cedar top, this guy, I lay it on there and I just center it. You know, when I first started building these, I'd got my tape measure and got super accurate, but I've done developed a pretty good eye. So I take the trap itself and just nail the top on, and like I said, I use just a regular board, a fence board, because of the cost associated. This fence board here cost me about, I don't know, 10-15 cents a piece, where if I built it out of this, the 3/4 cedar, it cost about 60 cents. But you can basically see the bee trap. Now this box can be longer, it can be bigger. I don't really recommend making it longer or bigger because it's just a waste of materials. I have learned over time how to maximize and utilize all your materials, because whenever you get in your cedar, you may get a board that's split on the end. What I look for one that is split in the middle. That way I can take the 2 end pieces and I can cut these out of them. And by the way, this is just an 1.5 inch hole, and I recommend you also use a Forstner type bit to do this to cut it smooth. I sand all of these boxes. My wife and I help me. She helps me build these things. And this board, I cut the little 45. Mainly because I wanted it to look good. I don't want just a box or a piece of wood hanging on the porch. So next step, I'm going to talk to you about how you attach the jar. All centered, let's talk about how do you attach your jar. Now I get my jars at Walmart. This is just a standard canning jar. And the people who can these things, they really hate me, because when I go into Walmart, I'll buy every case they got. Sometimes I'll have a cart slammed full of cases, and when I go through checkout, people are like, man, you must love canning and stuff. I said, I don't can anything. I use them for bee traps, and they're like, what? Kind of look at me funny, but it's just a standard. My wife likes for me to use these ball jars because they have that country look. They got the little logos on them. But basically, you just take the ring off. I discard the center cap, and I just center that on the box itself. Now I use these type of screws. These are also electro galvanized, but these are number 4s by a 1/2 inch long. And one trick I learned is I magnetize a little tip, a fine tip screwdriver, Phillips, on my drill here, so it's easy to get them started. And what I do is I just put one screw 4 times in each corner. Now one of the things I do, and I want to talk about this when I talk about putting this box together, the importance of all the nails. And I'll explain that in 1 second. So I put 4 screws into the jar to hold the actual jar in place. This holds a lid on it. These are 1/2 inch long. They're pretty strong. Now, think about this. I got 8 nails in the top holding this down, okay? I got 3, 6, 9, 12 nails holding the box together. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 nails into the base, keeping that bottom together so it can't pull out. So this bee trap can't come apart. I put 4 1/2 inch screws to hold that lid on, and then basically you just screw the jar on, and there you have your basic bee trap. Now one of the things I do is I do not put an eye hook in the center of the jar. I take my drill, I drill a hole through the roof into the sides. The reason I do that is so that the weight holding the bee trap up is not on the lid. I take 1.5 inch, these are deck screws, they're galvanized, and this is just a little old standard chain that is also coated to protect it from the environment. And I just screw this 1.5 inch deck screw in, and I leave enough play in it so that the chain can move freely. So as you can see, the chain will move freely, and I screw the lid on it, and there you go. There's your basic bee trap. Now there's some of you out there going, shoot, I'll just build my own. If you don't have a nice wood shop with table saws and all the tools to do this, this drill bit, the 1/2 inch Forstner bit alone can cost you $10 or $12. It can get expensive. The piece of cedar, when you go buy the cedar, enough cedar to build this trap is going to cost you $8 or $10. You're going to go to Walmart, you're going to pay about 90 cents to $1 for the jar itself. And then if you figure out the hardware and screws, you got another $1. So you're going to spend, you may spend just the materials alone over $10. And then when you buy the Forstner bit, and fortunately I have all the tools to do this, you might easily invest over $20 into these bee traps real quick. Now I'm going to show you something that I didn't teach everybody on this video. This video is showing you how to build a basic bee trap. What's the difference between mine and everybody else's? Well, first of all, I've already explained the quality of the way I build them. Every bee trap is built with quality wood. All the holes are perfectly sanded. We staple on an eye hook so you don't even have to find one. That way it's ready to be hung. But here's the proprietary piece to my traps that no one else has. If you notice, there's a little plastic funnel in there. The reason I put that on mine, okay, and I'm not going to show you how I did that because I got a unique method of doing it, is if a bee gets into the trap itself, okay, it goes through the jar. Now, if it doesn't have that funnel on it, okay, you see the hole? When he goes in, he realizes this is not a nest, I want out. He looks for a light source. Well, all four holes are at an angle, so he can't see the light source straight across. All he knows is there's an 1.5 inch hole in the bottom, and I see light. They don't understand glass or plastic, so he goes straight towards the light. He goes into the jar and he'll do circles around there. But if he rests, okay, he could climb back out of the trap. Well, that plastic funnel prevents him from climbing back out. He'll go up the edge and eventually he'll fall to the bottom and die. So I wanted to explain that to you so you understand. Also, when you get some bees in here, if you got some dead bees in there, sometimes yellow jackets and wasps will smell them and they're carnivorous. They'll go in there thinking they're going to get something to eat and you'll trap them in there. I've seen wasps, yellow jackets, and flies get trapped in there and they also get trapped and die. Now I do want to talk about carpenter bees. Carpenter bees do not build a nest. They drill holes in the wood and they have babies. Okay? So it's very important you understand they do pollinate. Now if you're a person who does not want to kill them, it's real easy. Buy you an extra jar. Okay? Buy you an extra jar, knock some holes in the top and have a spare one. When the bees get trapped in the jar, you can easily go out there and gently unscrew it and put the cap on it and you can relocate them. Please understand though, carpenter bees have a 3-mile radius from where they live to where they feed. So you may need to take them like 5 miles away into the woods and turn them loose so they can continue to find logs and other places to drill holes. I don't recommend you do this unless they're destroying your house. If you got some old shack in the back of your yard and they're just tearing it up and you have no use for it, let them tear it up because they are pollinating plants. But if they start drilling holes in your house, your porch and everywhere else, then it's time to get rid of them. Now you can get our bee traps. I sell them at 3 retail locations. One of them in Columbus, Georgia, at Do-It-Yourself Pest Control on Moon Road, if you're in the Columbus area, or if you're up in Hamilton or North Cantala, that area, Harris County, you can get them at the Hamilton Outdoor Supply. They sell not only my carpenter bee traps, but they also sell some of my bird houses and things like that. And if you're out in Waverly Hall or Box Springs or that neck of the woods, go by and see Harley at Family Feed Store. They sell them there. If you'd like to just get them directly from me, you can email me at thisoldshack@gmail.com. You can also check out our website at thisoldshack.com, This Old Shack on Facebook, and then once again my email is thisoldshack@gmail.com. Dennis Lawrence, thank you so much. I hope you have some fun building you some carpenter bee traps. But I build them out of cedar because this is the chocolate to the carpenter bees. It'll turn gray over time, but I've got some of these traps that are still hanging after 6 years. They're still just as solid